Well, the Memphis Grizzlies need to move forward without superstar Ja Morant for the foreseeable future. Now, the question is, can they do it on their own? And how will this all pan out? Now, joining us to answer just that is basketball analyst Coach Mark Molina. Coach Mark, how are you? You look very good today.
Hi, Coach.
Good evening, guys.
I love the yellow.
This is, you know why.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I had to bring that up because alam ko sasabihin mo yan eh. But before I hurt my feelings, Jegs, this whole situation with Ja Morant, I want to ask you too, because you are also an NBA analyst. Ja Morant, indefinite suspension, how does that really affect the Memphis Grizzlies? We know he's a big part, but then is the season already in jeopardy without him there?
Well, if you take a look at the record before, without Ja Morant, when he was out last season with an injury, they were actually they won 20 games and lost five games in that stretch. So I think the Memphis Grizzlies will still be okay even without Ja Morant. Maybe they will miss his, highlights, the way he carries his team, especially in the fourth quarter when they need buckets. I think that's where Memphis will really miss him.
Coach Mark, what happens to the ceiling here of the Memphis Grizzlies? Because Ja Morant is definitely a ceiling raiser, but then just how bad is it?
It's going to be effective big time. I agree with what Diego said. They'll be okay short term.
Right.
I think they will maintain their position in the West, but playoff time they will need him. If he's not there playoff time, I don't think they beat Denver. I don't think they beat the top teams, Phoenix, in the West. With Ja, they can go all the way. So the ceiling gets considerably lower for sure.
And with the lower ceiling here, Jeg, so Coach actually listed a few players here that could step up, should step up. I think let's go with the loudest one here in Dillon Brooks first. You take a look at Dillon Brooks. We all know that he says a lot already, volume-wise, in terms of the social media space, in terms of the whole narrative. But then why would he be one of the guys to really step up?
If you look at Ja, he provides three things for me. And one of them is leadership at that position. And Dillon Brooks is the emotional leader of this team. He's a fierce competitor. He's a great defensive player, doesn't back down from anybody. And that's where Dillon Brooks comes in. He needs to be that kind of a player to replace the emotions that Ja will leave behind, the leadership that Ja provides Memphis. I think that's something that Dillon Brooks must do. And so far, they've won 3 in a row. So they're doing well. As Diego said, their record is not bad without Ja.
Yeah, Desmond Bane is one of the scoring guys here for Memphis that will have to step up. Numbers bear that out, 21.3. Pero Jeg, siyempre, I'm sure you know that if you take out the key focus in terms of scoring for one team and you put it on some other guy, it changes the dynamic all entirely. It's not just about, putting 21.3 points per game.
Well, when you talk about Desmond Bane, he's usually an off-ball player. The creator is usually Ja Morant, and he gets those catch-and-shoot situations, talking about Desmond Bane. But now that Ja is out, he's gonna have some time, creating for this team, maybe handling the ball in the pick and roll, maybe creating for this whole team. But if Dillon Brooks is the anchor on defense for this Memphis Grizzlies team, if he's the energy on defense, I think Desmond Bane offensively will be that guy for the Memphis Grizzlies, even without Ja Morant.
This is how good Ja Morant is that he's not just a leader, he's not just a scorer, but he's also a key facilitator here for the Memphis Grizzlies. And Coach, you pointed that out as well. And the guy to take up the facilitating cudgels here for the Memphis Grizzlies, you mentioned Tyus Jones.
It's got to be Tyus Jones. And historically, he has played well every time Ja is not there. But Tyus will run the offense well, but as Diego mentioned, he's not the same creator as Ja Morant. And that's why a lot of those creativity will come from Desmond Bane. And Tyus Jones is perfect because if you run the offense through Bane or even through Jaren Jackson, he's a great floor spacer. He's an excellent spot-up three-point shooter, and he can run the offense. So short-term, he can do it. But as we mentioned, you can't win in the NBA playoffs without a superstar.
Coach, Memphis will make the playoffs, right?
Oh,
it shouldn't be a debate here. The question is, how far do they go? You take a look at where they are right now and the fact that we're close to the end of the regular season. Just how damaging can this be?
I think they remain in number 2, even without Ja. They have a cushion there. Sacramento's right there, but you don't know how Sacramento's a bit inconsistent. And everyone else are like, what, 6-7 games behind. I think the cushion is enough for them to stay at number 2. But now, if you're the Lakers, or the Warriors, you want to be at number 7 now. If you're looking at Memphis, they're going to be a target in the first round.
Or if you're the Jazz. But okay.
No. Let the Jazz stand.
We're not. It's not going well. But then you take a look at, as you mentioned, ceiling. They're going to make the playoffs. Their record is too good not to make it.
Of course, yeah.
Jegs, really quickly here, are they a dark horse championship contender? Which they were before Ja Morant's suspension, because again, good record in the West, people not giving them a chance, but then a very punchy chance to make it all the way. Are they still that to you?
Well, I agree with Coach Mark. With Ja Morant, yes, they are a contender. They can win it all the way, but without Ja Morant, it's impossible in the playoffs because, you know, there will be times in the playoffs where you need a bucket and you just give it to Ja Morant. I don't think they have that player right now without Ja. So.
Coach, you agree?
100%. That happened last year when they played the Warriors. And Ja wasn't there for, was it Game 5 or Game 6? And it was a different Memphis team. You need your stars to perform in the playoffs.
Well, NBA is always exciting, but on to more exciting news. NBA champion Mr. White Chocolate himself, Jason Williams, will headline the NBA 3X Philippines as it returns for the first time since 2019. This will happen on March 25 and 26 at the SM Mall of Asia Music Hall in Pasay City. The NBA 3X will feature a 3-on-3 tournament with more than 160 teams for both men's and women's divisions. It will also include interactive fan activities and performances by the Clutch City Dancers of the Houston Rockets. For more details on the registration, head on over to the NBA Philippines Facebook page.